the one question I think that needs to be asked in the aftermath of no movement at the trade deadline, which I really don't think is a surprise. Tashawn Reed from the Washington Post had a good column. Maybe we see if we can get him on tomorrow. He had a good article last Friday, I want to say. Maybe it was Saturday. I read the Post just about every day. It is the newspaper of my life. Mm-hmm. He had a good article just kind of explaining why they should stand pat and kind of predicting that they would stand pat, right? And I agree with the premise. I agree with the moves yesterday, but there is a question that comes from not making any moves at the trade deadline, which is not a pleasant question. What pieces that they would consider trading, right? Because let's be real, like they have one of the elite pieces in the NFL in a young quarterback.
There you go.
But you're not moving him, period.
He's not going anywhere.
What pieces do they have in an injury-marred, what appears to be lost season, that between – and the important part of NFL trades is to remember a lot of these are contract-driven and age-driven. Those are – skill and talent is the one seed of what constitutes an NFL trade. But then contract and age are probably – say it's number 1 through 5 and then 6 and then probably like 8. Right? Like contract takes up 6 and 7, and then age is 8. Considering that arithmetic, like what pieces do they have that the marketplace is really calling about? And that's where you start to wonder.
But see, I think that's, in a sense, I think it's a stretch. Because what if somebody called and it doesn't match your price and you don't let them go? Doesn't mean nobody didn't call.
Right.
Because I understand where you're going with that. Like, if nobody calls about the pieces you have, then what do you really have? Do you have much value? Do you have any players that you – there may be players that they called about, but –
I am sure there were calls,
I can't let you go just because.
Right.
You need to offer the right price. And I think if the right price – see, I'm still stuck on that. If you did not offer the right price, they should not have moved. Because let's be real. Just like we saw them last year, very aggressive on the football field. And this year, there was questions that, well, why they not as aggressive? And now as the season going on, we can probably tell, well, they're not very comfortable with what they have out there. But the ultimate thing is next year, there are people on this roster that's not going to be on this roster, which means that money now is money you can spend.
Right.
They already got a lot of money to spend.
Right.
So you can be as aggressive as you want next year in this offseason. So it's just like when you're looking at, they probably already know the people that are on the contract, on salary cap for next year that won't be on it.
Sure.
And all that money they got to spend, and you can start calculating that. So maybe that move right there proves that I don't have to make a move right now.
Well, and I think if you want to say trade Payne, he's technically under contract for next year, but he's not playing under that contract. There's not enough guaranteed money on it. It's going to be a very similar situation with Payne that it was with John Allen last year, I believe, right? Just contractually, that's the structure is setting up towards something similar to that, right? So, like, if you want to compare Quinnen Williams and Daron Payne and the haul that the Jets got trading away Quinnen Williams versus Washington with Daron Payne, it's not a real comparison. One, Williams has been better. Like, he's played at an all-pro level. Williams has been the better player, okay? That's one. Two, Williams is under contract. Dallas doesn't have to make a decision on what they're going to do with Quinnen Williams. They basically get him for 2 years.
Yes.
And then they have a team option. So, like, he is under contract, and that's a plug-and-play situation.
Yeah.
Duran's not. So that changes that changes the apparatus to trade for him significantly because the team that's trading for him, hypothetically, more or less is getting a 9-game rental unless they decide they're going to do something.
And
right?
that is probably a deterrent for a lot of people out there as well.
Kinlaw would be another piece that maybe you want to move. Kinlaw's played fairly well. I think despite the hand-wringing about his contract, he's probably overperformed $15 million per season at a D tackle. Like, that's just the reality of how people are paid at that position. Frankly, that's what you and I said when people were screaming about the money is, you're basically paying him as a third-tier D tackle. Yeah. It's just the money's so inflated, people can't catch up with it.
You just sign him, and you trade him away, that looks bad on you.
Dude, it looks bad on them. And Kinlaw's,
unless you get a hell of a haul.
But Kinlaw's also under contract for next year. So, like, that's part of your longer range plan. Then what do you get for him? A fourth.
Yeah. Jay, I'm listen, I understand everyone wants the NFL trades to be like the other leagues. But it doesn't make that big of an impact.
I mean, you could have Kinlaw's. Now, I don't know that he would play in 27 with no guaranteed money, but like even the 27 season on that deal looks pretty fair to all parties. There's no guarantees, so he may not actually go through with that. Like we'll see, but next year Kinlaw's on your books, dude. Like trading him doesn't make a ton of sense. You could talk about Laramie Tunsil, who you're going to have to pay next year. But I think when they traded for Tunsil, they obviously are aware they're going to have to pay him, and they want him to be part of what they've got. Ertz, Debo, those guys probably aren't part of the plan for next season. But, like, does getting a conditional sixth really help you?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I just listen, man.
Terry was never a real option.
The trades in the NFL don't make as big an impact as they do in other leagues, unless it's a quarterback, unless it's probably a shutdown corner or an astronomical pass rusher. If you're not getting those guys, you more than likely are you could go get somebody and come back and guess what? You'll be the same or worse. You might not be better at this particular time. So if they didn't have no move that was going to make a big, big difference, why? Because you could still build that in the offseason. You can still build that once everything come up with free agency and all that type of stuff. You can make some. You can do some stuff where we're going to draft this, and this. Or you may have some of those draft picks move up and get a impact guy instead of saying we're going to pick all these little guys down the stretch. 5 picks from whatever they got, right?
Yeah.
So instead of having 5, you might have 4. You may have 4 more impactful guys instead of 2 impactful and 3 that's not. We'll see.
I come out of the trade deadline with the result being moderately disappointing. Like, it's not a big deal. You would have liked, because you traded away so much draft capital over this past offseason, would you have liked to get some back? Sure. I don't think there was some big deal that they left on the table because they're chasing wins this year.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a big deal out there.
My thing is, if it wasn't going to make a difference this year, and make you instantly one of the better teams in the league, and you're going to be making a great playoff run, why do it? I understand it's maybe
For me, it's
nice.
the flip side. We recognize this year is lost for a number of reasons. Let's try to acquire what we can to build back. But I don't know the conditional 6-round picks really get that done.
There we go. So if it's not nothing that's going to make a big impact, my mindset will always be, why do it? If that trade will still leave you as blah as you are now, why make that trade? Just to make one?
Right. And I think there is some reality of, I think despite, callers and people that are upset, like, I can't imagine anybody with rational thought thinks there's any major changes coming in Ashburn. Like AP, Dan Quinn, nobody's going anywhere, right? And so, like, I don't even think it's self-preservation league. I think those guys are still going to try to continue to build towards their vision.
Yep.
And the guys they acquired,
I believe they wavered from their vision because of the success last year. And now they're saying, damn.
Yeah,
we got caught because we saw something last year, and everybody was hyped. And let's be real, they were hyped too because they thought we were a lot closer. So they felt we just add a few veteran pieces, we can get there. And it didn't work. Like, I heard, I don't know who it was, I think on the show with us, talking about if you don't have injuries one year, you're going to have them the next year. Well, they were lucky last year. This year the injuries came. It is football. It's rolling hills, baby. It's going to happen or not. And then they went out and they tried it. Okay, it didn't work. And I think the thing for me is I understand that. That's how football works. I'm not the typical person, it didn't work, fire everybody. I'm not the fire everybody every damn other year type of person. Because we have done that. We did that for 20-something years. After 2 years, we always wanted to fire somebody. And we stayed stagnant. Okay? And we sit up here and it's easy. Now we can blame everybody that was making decisions. But you know who was asking them to get fired? Us. Fans, media, they got fired, and they come in, and then guess what? They never had any kind of consistency going. You got to at least get consistency, and then when you start seeing, like, people are like, well, this team had injuries, but they're still well because they had a chance to build a great damn base. They had a chance to build a nucleus. And right now, we are not at that point. So just to do stuff because other teams are doing won't make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because, like, we have to kind of try to hold ourselves, like, what we started to hammer Ron on and Gruden and Bruce. Like, I just think it's premature to get to those levels where we're overly dismissive of this group. I think the nature of the losses over the last 3 games makes it feel far more hopeless than the reality probably is. You know, they've been outscored 110-43 in the last 3 games. They've gotten their asses kicked.
Yep.
But it's still week 10. Like,
week 10 in the second year, and I'm not going to say rebuild, but the thing that Ron and Gruden and all of them had, they were still a part of the tragedy that was happening prior to them.
Agreed.
And it never ended. Now this thing has ended. And the thing of it is, we have to figure out a way. Just like if you're in a relationship or you're in an old job and you go to a new one, everything that seems similar to the other is not necessarily the other. You got to find a way to say this is something new and give it a chance. Because what happens is every time something goes down, everyone immediately throws it into that area with Snyder and all those people. I don't think it's that simple. You know, I have figured it out in my life that, you know what, just because something looked like it might be the other thing, it's not necessarily that. And maybe a lot of people will get to that point one day. But you can't, that's the easy way of doing things. Just blame it on something else.
Agreed. I think it, much like I said the other day, that I think Josh Harris was probably really pissed that Jaden was playing late in that game, knowing how Josh Harris has built the Sixers and knowing how Josh Harris has built the Devils, where you develop and take care of and protect young players to emerge over time as a championship contender. Like, using that knowledge, right, of just how he's operated at his other teams, also use that same knowledge to understand he's in it for the long haul. And while they're pissed, there's no way they sit up in that owner's box and watch Jackson Smith and Jigba carve this team up. They also are. This is a 5-year thing to them. There is the difference in the owner's box makes a tremendous difference. And yeah, this year has been disappointing, undoubtedly.
Very much.
But it's like they're not demanding a fire sale yesterday, or better than that, they're not demanding to trade for Sauce Gardner and give up 2 ones. Yeah, they're like, all right, let's stay the course. This year went bad. Let's figure out what we've done wrong. Let's figure out how to address it. But like, the worst thing they could have done, and something that would not have shocked me in the Dan days, is the deal Indy put together for Sauce Gardner. Like, that's the dumbest thing Washington could have done.
Yeah, but
so standing pat is far better than being aggressive when you shouldn't be.
In the position they are now. Because if they had gone out there and did a move like that, you know what? There'd be a certain amount of people who would be thrilled like hell. And I will bet my house and everything I got on it. Those same people are going to be pissed off in 2 years because you won't have a first-round pick. The same people will be pissed off. So, listen, man, you can't get caught up in the trying to make people feel good for the moment. Okay? If you're in it for the long haul, you know what's going to happen. People are going to be pissed. People are going to be disappointed. People are going to be acting like you don't know what you're doing. But you have to stick to your game plan. If you're in it for the long haul, you have to build the stuff properly to get to that point. And they already took one exit too soon by automatically assuming they're going to come back this year and be where they were last year. They did that. Okay? From now on, no matter how exciting or how humdrum things are, stick to your damn plan. Don't let others make you jump on something else.
Dude, I agree. Like, there's no way they can look at this year and not recognize the mistakes. But and at some point they need to own that. The way Dan Quinn came out and owned the mistake with Jaden, at some point it's like last offseason was disjointed. We recognize we got aggressive maybe too early. We're going to adapt, but you still got to continue to build this thing. And the best part of yesterday is that they didn't do something stupid.
Yep.
They may have been inactive, but they weren't stupid.
100.